Hello there, everyone. This is Kaylin with the Chronic Yet Undefeated podcast. And today I was thinking of listing some things that, from my personal experience, have helped me in points in my life with epilepsy. And I notice that a lot of people on forums really struggle, or they wonder what helps everybody, what can make this better, um, is there something that really works that I haven't tried? And before diving head first, talk to your doctor first. Don't just dive into something and decide, oh, this will be great, and then it might not be helpful for you. That wouldn't be good. So I'm not a doctor. I can't give medical advice. So just keep that in mind. And this is from personal experience and things that I've noticed that help. But I'll be going through various seizure triggers too. But the number one seizure trigger is mismedication. And this is a big one because people with seizures or epilepsy might often be forgetful, and it's easy to forget to miss medication, especially when you're busy or you were trying to rush out the door, or you just flat out forgot. Maybe you weren't feeling weird or anything, and you're like thinking, oh, I feel fine, and then you forget to take it. Some people might have a seizure because they missed a dose, and that in itself can be a problem. Sleep is another big one. I'm a night owl. I don't always want to go to bed, but sleep is definitely important. And although sometimes for those with epilepsy, it's not as simple as saying, oh, go to sleep, get some rest, because when they do, sometimes they have nocturnal epilepsy where they have seizures as they're falling asleep, during their sleep, or upon waking. And that can make you feel totally unrested, totally exhausted, not energized at all, making you feel like you didn't sleep at all. And then more sleep might make it worse. You might make it better. It's like a gamble you have to take, because sleep is something that's very needed for those with seizures, and it's known to be a trigger if you have sleep deprivation. So it's a really ugly cycle when there's nocturnal challenges involved, but definitely do your best to get the best sleep you can. Um, don't overdo it. Don't overexert yourself. This is one thing that sometimes I've had a bad habit of doing, and sometimes I probably don't exert myself enough sometimes because I'm worried about overexerting myself. Um, but you go out, maybe you exercise. Maybe you exercise a little too hard. Maybe you forgot to bring water with you, or you can't get hydrated right away, or the amount of stress it puts on your body is just too much, and it can cause a seizure. So be careful not to overdo it. Definitely know your limits, and that can look different for everybody. So know your limits. When you feel like you're just reaching that point, like, don't go above and beyond. It's not worth it. Diet was a big one for me. I noticed different things. I had changed my diet around quite a bit of times in my life. I grew up and we followed the things we thought were just the healthiest, and when I grew older, we figured out that most of us had trouble with a lot of the foods we were eating. Um, and that caused more health issues down the road because we simply didn't know. And I found that low carb, low sugar diet has helped me a lot. I've never done keto or successfully done keto. I felt like there was a lot of foods in that were healthy for you that it asked you not to have. So I've actively avoided it, but I do more of a paleo diet when I can. I have slipped very far in diet and really need to get back on track, and it's very hard to right now, but I found a lot of success going for myself personally. Like, wheat bothers me. I've avoided wheat, and I've avoided other grains too, but also keep the sugar consumption quite low, and that has helped me a lot. There were times I just lost way too much weight on low carbs, so I made sure to add in those complex carbs like sweet potatoes or regular potatoes, or you know things like that, to make sure my weight didn't go too far down the drain. Staying hydrated is a really big one for some of us in the summer when it's hot, or for those maybe they live in a situation where they don't have central air. They have to manually turn a swamp cooler perhaps on or off whenever they need to use it, and sleep can be dangerous sometimes with that, because if you get too dehydrated in your sleep and then you can't get up to turn on the air, then that's a very scary situation to be in. But I recommend like keeping a water bottle by your bedside. Make sure you stay hydrated. If you wake up for just a moment, like take a sip of water, because dehydration is a definite trigger for those with epilepsy, and I know it's definitely one of mine. And it can be challenging when the weather gets really hot, or if you're outdoors for a long period of time in the heat, or maybe you're even exercising. It could be challenging. Staying hydrated is good. I found electrolyte powders sometimes help too. And they go above and beyond really than hydration of regular water. I found for myself personally, I love my cold coffee, but I do find that it kind of interrupts my sleep. It doesn't matter what time of day I really have it. At night it's definitely worse, but even if I have it in the day and then I still somehow don't get the best sleep ever, I've tried going off of caffeine and I feel like I get much deeper sleep at night. I feel like my brain is more well rested. I'm not as exhausted without the caffeine. But I guess it makes sense because it can put your body, as I've heard, in a crisis mode where you're just kind of like pushing through, and that doesn't do well for me apparently. For some people it might be fine, and I gotta watch how much caffeine I have, because if I have just a little too much, it is a trigger for me, that's for sure. Blood sugar crashes. I found that avoiding dessert after dinner is a big one. Avoiding high sugar fruits, avoiding, cakes, cookies, candy, you avoid sodas, sweet drinks, avoid it before bed. I get way better sleep when I do that. And if I do have sweets, I try to have them, lunchtime maybe. But I try not to eat them at night, and I fail at that a lot. But it's worth noting that does help, because blood sugar crashes can be a trigger. Make sure to eat well. Low blood sugar can be a problem and contribute to seizures, and some people are more prone to that than others. But for anybody, if you don't eat over the course of a period of time, you could have low blood sugar. It does make you tired, and it can cause seizures. So, know what your body, how long you can go without eating, and don't go beyond that, because once you hit that point of low blood sugar, it's a little risky. But just eat well, like eat good nutritionally, make sure you eat when you need to eat, and try not to forget it. Mark it on an alarm if you have to. Bright store lights for me, or sometimes bright lights just don't feel good. I'm not photosensitive. I've never been diagnosed as photosensitive, but some of those store lights these days, they do bother me. Sometimes I do use sunglasses, or but sometimes it's hard because you're walking in the store at night with sunglasses. They think you're stealing something, and it can be a challenge. In some stores I haven't been able to go in because those lights just really bother me. Stress, definitely keep the stress down as much as humanly possible. Stress is a part of life, but keeping it at its absolute lowest is best. For me, I take folate because I've been told my medication takes it from me, and I make sure to keep my B vitamins up. That's what I've been told personally to do by my doctor for myself. Sometimes I've found it safer to keep cool than hot. I've been told there have been studies done that placing a cool rag around your neck can help to be able to prevent a seizure in some cases, if the seizure is because of overheating, or if it's because your body temperature is raising up there. I know sometimes before certain seizures I would feel really hot, And sometimes I would turn on an air conditioner on full blast, let it blow on my face, get a cool rag around, my neck. And that has helped. It has pushed a seizure off until I could maybe even get my medication sometimes. And I mean, other triggers, stay away from substance abuse. I mean, that never had an appeal to me personally. I know some people do struggle with that, but that is a trigger. And sometimes I remember when I was trying to stretch medication, it's a long, long story, but it was a long time between my neurologist appointment. I hadn't had my seizure medication in 15 months because I was all cleared to do that by my neurologist, and then I had a seizure, and then it took forever to get the appointment back to get my medication again. But at that time, sometimes when I felt really off, I was like, I heard something like sniffing peppermint oil, like, don't put it in your nose, but like hold it a distance away, but that can help wake the mind up. And there were times where I felt like that really could have helped. Sometimes I do keep mints on me because they help with mental alertness. I'm not saying that stops seizures or if that really is what it was doing for me 100%, but it was something that I felt did help at times. There are things that are hard to avoid though. There are seizures that can be triggered by hormone changes. That's more challenging. Some women do use progesterone cream on their arms and stuff, just to combat like catamenial epilepsy, and that's more challenging. That's a lot harder to deal with. Illness or fever. It's hard not to, catch a cold once a year, but that can be a trigger too. Other things like tumors, traumatic brain injury, birth defects, those are really just, those can be contributors to constant seizures, and those are very difficult to just help. So make sure, that's not involved. Some people have seizures from medication changes, going from one to another, and that's common. Loud noises. Some people do have seizures from really loud noises. That's harder to eliminate. Some people feel seizures when they have strong emotions like excitement or anger, or I remember for a time when I was just really struggling, and like I said, it was that gap where I was 15 months, no seizures, wasn't on the medication, and then I had to go back to being on the medication. It didn't feel like it worked the same way the second time. I don't know what changed, but it worked, but it didn't seem like as effective as it was the first time. But also, I noticed that when I didn't have the medication, I was stretching it really thin. I was waiting for my next appointment to get my medication back on track. If I got flustered, just like not even like fully angry, but just a little like annoyed, even if I wasn't showing it on my face or anything, I started feeling like I was about to have a seizure. Like strong emotions like anger or getting really excited about something, yeah, that did affect me, and I thought that was just the weirdest thing because that had never happened to me before, and that is really hard to avoid and control, especially without medication. But I remember having an adverse effect from medication, not like the point I was allergic to. It's just that the medication I was taking interacted with how my medication worked, and it was penicillin I was taking at the time for an infection in my tooth, and I had a seizure, and at the neurologist they were sure upon us talking about it that the penicillin got in the way of how the medication I was taking at the time worked. So that can happen too, and that's a lot harder to avoid. Sometimes that's not really totally avoidable. But those are things that have helped me and over the years, and I would have to just say for myself, the number one is definitely diet, and the number two, I guess, is sleep, or flip them, whatever works, but they're both very important. Sleep and diet are probably the biggest ones, and taking medication. So those have definitely helped me along the way. So if you like this, hit the like button. If you don't miss another video, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.